is a complete disinformation.
All
I say disinformation because he is aware of what.
Okay, Mr. Teso, thank you very much. I mean, I thank you because you started out by debunking some of the claims made by Mr. Ondoaka, but I want you to respond most importantly to issues around the government, your government's addressing of these challenges. Yes, you might say that so some things are not right, this place is not occupied and so on. But the truth is that it's been reported a number of times across different locations in Benue State that there are security challenges. And the main claim is that the governor or the government isn't doing enough to address it. So can you share with us some of the responses by the government and what they hope to do, in the future to ensure that the people in Benue State are protected? I think that's the key point beyond the debunking.
Yes, in most instances, it's easy for people to make unfounded claims, as in saying that the governor or the government of Benue State is not doing enough. For you to first of all pass judgment on the development, you have to do a comparative analysis. You have to look at the remote the change. Is there any change in operation of what this what we are doing? Just like what we had in Borno, the Boko Haram issue that we had in Borno. You know that terrorists normally change tactics as they progress in their evil deeds. When the governor came in, what was happening at the time before the governor came in was that the anti-open grazing law was there, and the law was specific that the people who are perpetrating open grazing should be arrested, and the cows too, or the herds too, that are straying in people's farms or are grazing openly should be arrested. But what was happening at that time was that, I'm trying to do a comparative analysis to answer you correctly, was that the people who were enforcing the law at that time were more interested in arresting or confiscating the cows that were straying in or grazing openly. They will leave those who are commanding these cows and then go after the cows. And what was happening was that once the cows are confiscated, sometimes you have 100 cows confiscated, the people come to pay the prescribed fee for them to get back their cow. And what get to know is that, yes, 100 were confiscated, but what we have here is 40. That was what will anger these herders to now go after the community. Miatiala and other herders who went to the media, this thing is there. And so when His Excellency came in, how are we going to do? He sat with professionals, those who can handle the security, and say, is there any way we can? The people say yes. These cows don't just enter the state. People command them. People hate them. And so let us be going after the offenders of this law, those who are commanding or hating these cows. And that is why we move completely from the issue of being more interested in confiscating cows to the point of arresting the perpetrators. This, the government started very well, and I can tell you, the security have the report. I can tell you that so many of these herders were arrested and they are being prosecuted. Some of them are in remand homes. Some of them, their cases are still on. And so when you say that nothing is being done, it is not very correct, and it's not true.
Can you
and again, before this, the governor, hello?
Yeah, Mr. Teso, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, let me just go straight. So you're saying that what the governor has done so far is to arrest unspecified numbers of herders and go after cows in the last 2 years?
That is not, I was coming to that, to the next phase of it. I was coming to the next phase. I can't hear her again.
Go on, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I was coming to the second phase of that. Now, the governor did everything to beef up our security at the home frontier. That is why you heard of civil protection guard that he brought in. That was because the people that were enforcing this law in the past, we noticed, based on the report we came here and got, we noticed a kind of mischief and criminality involved. So that has to be prescribed. And in its place, a civil protection guard was brought in. People were recruited and they were also equipped, fully equipped, to help complement the efforts of the conventional security that is always sent from the center. The governor did not stop at that. He also launched another joint task force, which is called Operation Anyanyo. That is to complement, together with Operation Zina that was already in place, to complement Operation White Stroke that is on ground here. And they have been doing a good job. Yes, people may ask, or somebody may want to know, or people may ask that, oh, has it stopped? There's nowhere that you have 100% of security clearance. But here is the situation where, because of the efforts the governor has done, many people have gone back to their homes. Many people have gone back to their homes. I can give you the statistics. When we came into power, the governor sought to know, and right from the pronouncements of the former government, they said they had 1.5 people in IDP camps. The governor asked IOM to come in and verify this after some time, after people had gone back. And presently, what is there to show that is verifiable on even IOM website is that we have just 900 plus in IDP camps.
We have had you.
So this means...
we have had you. Your drift is already clear, is well stated. However, it was not just about what you have responded to. On that day, when Anduaka SAM was here, we asked him, what exactly is his concern? He said, the livelihood of the people of Benue State is being disrupted. That Benue State is the food basket of the nation. And that right now, the people of Benue State cannot even go to the farm, removing the basic thing that Benue State is known for. Is that true or false? Secondly, we asked him, are you saying all this, asking for, this statement you claim you have made in good faith because you are interested in the governorship race in 2027 in Benue State? He said, well, he was not here to discuss politics. Again, do you agree with him or do you think he's lying on those two issues?
Yeah, first of all, I will tell you that, yes, you remember that where you have security challenges, the people's livelihood is actually distorted. And the governor himself has said this over and over. But when you begin to weaponize the misfortune of the people to be able to gain undue advantage or a cheap popularity, then there's need to question. You cannot, because some local governments are affected, which is agreed. And remember, also, I said, you don't take one local government and discuss and say this. When we came in, about 17 local governments, 17 after 23 local governments, we are wholly attacked. They were badly affected by this unfortunate development. But with the efforts of what the governor is doing and with the collaboration of Mr. President and the federal government in general, you can barely talk of Gwe West now. You can also talk of Guma now, and then just some council walls in Ukum, where he's talking about. And so we have 3 local governments now that we can talk about. Then it was 17 local governments. Okay. So actually we need more efforts to come in and let us help flush these people completely. Okay. But for now, it is not completely agreed, but not to the magnitude of what he was saying. And I must tell you, to answer you the second question, I must tell you that I don't need to tell him that he was lying, but then we know people are antecedent in this country. People, when in the past they display some level of desperation to hijack power, they can fabricate anything to be able to get cheap popularity or maybe undue advantage on the system. Tell the world, let the world know what is actually happening. Yes, we need help, but are you telling us exactly what is happening? No, that was not what he was saying. That is exactly what I'm telling you. He was actually, remember, I don't know the kind of favor he wants to get from Otom. Few months ago, he came out and said that some people from the north gave Otom, was it 47 billion for him to cede the Benue land to them, and Otom denied. I'm very sure Otom himself will be very surprised to hear that kind of thing. And then he came here saying that during Otom's time, Otom was in charge. When you have 1.5 people in IDP camps, and now you can barely have 800 and something that is verifiable in IDP camps, what that tells you? Are you telling me that others have disappeared?
Mr. Kula,
they have actually gone back to their farms, gone back to their homes. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kula. I mean, of course, what the people want is for them to be able to go back to their farms and that they can produce, feed their family members and feed the nation as the food basket of the nation. Thank you so much for your time with us today. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we will be bringing you Political Brief with Arise Director of News and Politics Editor, Somna Sambo. Stay with us.
Do your style, show your smile. Do your future, show your tutor. Do your stream, share your dream. Do your passion, share your fashion. Do your pain, show your game. Do your friendship, share your time. Do your laughter, make it true. With Glow YouTube.
Do you 250 Naira for 5 hours, 600 Naira for 14 hours. Dial *312#.
With Glow YouTube bundles. Do you?
Glow Unlimited. In this life, it's what you do behind that shows in front.
Give us the fire. Tell us more. It's Cosmo or nothing. Luxury or not, this is Cosmo.
That's why I roll with Cosmo deodorant. No sweat, no stains, no odor.
Now you know.
Cosmo Roll-On Whitening Deodorant.
All day freshness, 7 days a week from GVS Cosmetics.
Buying your Airpiece ticket just got easier with Fidelity Bank. When you book on flyairpiece.com, choose Fidelity payment options and complete your payment effortlessly. With Fidelity Bank, you can pay with transfer, fast, secure, and powered by Fidelity. Buy now, pay later, enjoy flexible payments, and travel stress-free. Book on hold. Lock in your travel plans and pay when you're ready. Whichever you choose, every transaction is quick, seamless, and protected. No stress, no hassle. Just smooth payments every time. Because with Fidelity Bank, flying Airpiece isn't just about getting there, it's about getting there with ease. Fly Airpiece. Pay the Fidelity way. Simple, safe, convenient. Visit flyairpiece.com to get started.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Rivers State Governor Sir Simeon Fubara has described the notice of impeachment against him and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, by the State House of Assembly as a love letter. Fubara, who was speaking as a special guest at the finals of the 2026 Port Harcourt Polo Tournament held in the state capital on Saturday, however, pledged not to support directly or indirectly any action capable of undermining peace and safety in the state. The governor, who for the first time spoke about the impeachment saga, stated that the protection of lives and property remains the foremost responsibility of his administration. The planned defection of the Kano State Governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, from the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, to the All Progressives Congress, APC, has experienced a setback, as the ruling party has not acceded to the governor's demand to be offered an automatic ticket in the 2027 governorship election in the state. This day newspaper has learned. This day gathered that the demand for an automatic ticket in the 2027 general election was one of the conditions Governor Yusuf presented to the APC leadership for his defection to the ruling party. However, it was learned that the APC leadership's reluctance to accede to this demand has continued to generate apprehension in the governor's camp, leading to the shifting of the defection dates on more than 2 occasions. While the governor was still in Abuja yesterday, engaging in high-stakes consultations with the APC national leadership, the Kano State chapter of the party has assured that the governor was on his way to joining the party at the right time and denied ever meeting with him to discuss the issue of automatic ticket. And finally, on political brief, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, says removing President Bola Tinubu from office in 2027 is the only way to take Nigeria back from those he said have hijacked the country, according to Bolaji Abdullahi, ADC spokesperson, at the weekend. He said there is no way Nigeria can be reclaimed while Tinubu remains in office. Joining us on Political Brief to discuss these stories is Arise Director of News and Politics, Sumna Sambo. Sumna, good morning, and great to see you again on the morning show.
Morning, Sumna.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Rufai, and good morning to our viewers.
Well, you have the stories. What next in Rivers State, in your opinion, from the circumstances emerging in that state? And secondly, does it not make sense that if you offer a man membership of your party, there will be trade-off? I think that's just basic common sense in politics. And then, of course, the ADC, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, says, oh, the best way to save Nigeria is to remove Tinubu. Okay, he's a leader of the opposition. What else will he say when he's also trying to sell his own political party? But your take on these issues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abati. And on the Rivers issue, I would like us to just focus strictly on Section 188, which is going to be our guide towards understanding what's happening, and let's not be emotional as Nigerians on this specific issue. The Rivers State governor is actually saying that he has not been officially served, and so we'll need the Rivers State House of Assembly to provide evidence that they served the governor this notice in line with the constitutional provisions of Section 188(1), and then it goes down. Because that provision also says that once the governor and his deputy in this instance are served, they will have to write back their reply to address the impeachment notice, and then the reply will be taken back to the speaker, and then the speaker will now circulate it to members of the State House of Assembly, then before writing the chief judge of the state, requesting for a panel to be set up. And then, of course, the panel will be set up, and then, of course, the procedure continues. So at the stage we are in right now, we need the Rivers State House of Assembly to prove, indeed, that they served the governor, and then the governor received it, and whether the governor has decided to reply to the impeachment notice or not. Because if the governor doesn't reply to it, there are also provisions to follow. So in all of this, I think to put aside all emotions, if we are to follow the legality of this matter, Section 188 is very, very clear, unambiguous, and that's why we have the Rivers State House of Assembly having its own legal department. Just like the state executive chaired by Governor Fubara also has an attorney general of the state. And I'm very sure that if they follow this procedure unemotionally, we won't have a challenge. Now, as to whether the court in Rivers State has powers to, stop another arm of government from performing its duty, that is also another issue that the Supreme Court has clearly stated that no arm of government can stop another arm of government from performing its constitutional duties. But in all of this, we have the Chief Judge of the Rivers State in the eye of the storm. Is he going to form a panel in the presence of an ex parte order? And then is the ex parte order illegal when compared to Supreme Court judgment? So we'll all look at it and see how those are the federal authorities at the federal level can help to also guide them if indeed they really want to follow the lines of the Constitution. Because if not, like your guest earlier said, there will be ultra vires. So the executive may go ultra vires, that's above their powers, or the legislature may go ultra vires above their powers, and everything will be nullified at the end of the day. But do we really need an impeachment at this point in time? Well, that's a question that's left for our viewers to answer. And when you come to the issue of Kano, it's an exciting development that's happening there. And I can tell you that it's a very difficult situation for Governor Abba Yusuf because President Tinubu seems to be understanding what's at play right now. And that's why you can see that even the president is skeptical about Abba Yusuf's coming to the APC, because without Kwankwanso joining that ticket, in moving into the APC, Abba's political trajectory will just be a huge challenge. It will face a huge challenge because the reason why Tinubu actually went for the governor is not because of the governor himself, but because of the Kwankwansia movement led by its leader, Kwankwanso, that will back Governor Abba Yusuf to use the state structure to be able to deliver the APC. Now, President Tinubu is actually divided. Having noticed this, don't forget the issue of the e-registration of the APC is supposed to have commenced. But in Kano, I learned that the president said that they should still give the governor like about a week this week so that he will be the first person to register, while the governor has also been given an assignment to go and talk more to his leader, Kwankwanso, to move. But now Kwankwanso is still reluctant to move. And as a result of that, the e-registration is at a stalemate right now. And let's hope that Governor Yusuf will be able to use his last minute joker to see if he can pull in Kwankwanso or not, so that the e-registration will go ahead. But if it doesn't, then I can tell you he will lose her, because, just like the reports have been saying, Governor Fubara of Rivers, a very strong political dominion, came into APC without negotiations and asking for slots and all of that. The same thing with Governor Mufwang of Plateau State. But why will Governor Abba Yusuf be requesting for 60% of all political appointments in Kano State if eventually he moves in? And I can tell you the biggest benefactor of Governor Abba Yusuf's movement into the APC will be Abdullahi Ganduje, the former APC national chairman and former governor of the state. Because if you look at it politically now, you see that the Kano State government is dragging on some of the court cases that they are taking against Ganduje. So Ganduje is so happy to actually have Abba Yusuf because some of the cases will be withdrawn in court against him. And so he's doing his best to play a middle ground. And I've been told that they've been holding political meetings in Abuja here, including the Deputy Senate President. And Ganduje is trying to see how he can play a middle role there. But it's not going to be an easy move, because here's Kwankwanso also being wooed with the potential vice presidency of the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. And if you were the one, which would you go for? I think that because former President Olusegun Obasanjo has played a critical role in the life of Kwankwanso, I'm thinking that Kwankwanso is more willing to accept the entreaties from the African Democratic Congress than to go to the APC, because he consistently says that when he moved to the APC in 2014, were the promises that were given to him realized? And the answer is no. So, and that's why he's warning Governor Yusuf that he knows APC pretty well, especially President Bola Tinubu, that those things that are being given to him in promises will not materialize. And that's why Governor Yusuf is also asking them to put it on paper. But if you know APC very well, even if it is put on paper, it will be difficult for the APC to grant him his wish, because without Kwankwanso, Governor Abba Yusuf will practically be politically naked. And the major thing that is here in Kano is that I don't envy the two emirs who are there. Some people have been calling them the federal emir. That's Aminu Bayero is called the federal emir, while Sanusi Lamido is called the state emir. Now, imagine if Governor Yusuf moves to the APC and Sanusi Lamido is actually left bare naked because he doesn't have police protection and all of that. It's, vigilantes that have been guarding him. Now, if Kwankwanso sees what is going on there, there's going to be a huge challenge to him and Emir Sanusi. Don't forget, the APC may likely go back to what it intended to do previously, and which is to restore Aminu Bayero back to the Kano emirship. And if that happens, it will be a huge security challenge, including the fallout of the APC movement. And so let the federal authorities be careful of the sort of politics that they are playing in Kano, because Kano can be politically volatile. And let's see how we don't increase the political tempo of the country as we head into 2027. Now, as to the ADC, I'm very curious to know why the ADC wants to play the sort of politics that APC played while coming into power in 2014. That may no longer work here, where you will come and you say that the only thing you're going out for is to remove the president. I think Nigerians have gone above that. Don't forget, that's what APC did. In 2013, 2014, they came with what looked like the politics of vengeance, and with what Olisa Metu, would also call them then, a party of Janjaweed politicians, people who just want to come and get the president out, whether the president is doing well or not. Now, if you go with that mindset, Nigerians will remind you that what they need to hear from you is the alternative policies that you'll be bringing to make their lives better, not just to remove the president. Because here we are as a country, the president, then Goodluck Jonathan, was removed and all of that. If you look at the cost of petrol now, how much is it compared to what the Occupy Nigeria protested against in 2012? Cost of foodstuff and all of that, can you compare what it was then than now? So unless the ADC can promise Nigerians that whatever they are going to do will reduce the price of food in the market, will reduce the price of petrol, will reduce the exchange rate between the naira and dollar, and stabilize the country much more in terms of security, I think they'll be falling into a trap. And maybe Nigerians may prefer to go with the government that they know than the angels that they do not know, because they've tried that before and it happened, and Nigeria is no longer where it was.
Let's not get emotional. That's what they all do. They want to take power at all costs. You see all those other things you are saying, they promised it alongside with it. The APC promised that they were going to convert, $1 to 1 naira. You remember that narrative back in the days? But it never happened, Somna. So the ADC, that's their target. And when you also look at the deeper context, all what they did against Jonathan there was to also protect the likes of people like President Tinubu, because he knows then that if Jonathan had gotten the second term, it would have been death for his political, career and emergence. So it's all about their selfish interests. Let's get with the program, like somebody will say, and that's about it. Thank you so much. Time for a short break. Still ahead.
Nous sommes encore champions d'Afrique. La deuxième étoile.
The blistering Taranga Lions of Senegal put so much fear into the Atlas Lions of Morocco, and Senegal clinched the AFCON trophy. We'll talk about that more with Aaron, live from Morocco. Stay with us.
As far as your eyes can see, you can own it. Built on integrity, surrounded by nature, a place where you feel alive. With golf course, amusement park, artificial lake, sports centers, residential, and commercial spaces. Be among the first to invest for greater returns and a new lifestyle. Utu exclusive. Live, play, relax. Invest today.
In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodimma's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, Guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. For updates on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akirejola joins us now. Good morning, Aaron.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Doctor. Good morning to you, Ayo. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Aaron.
And just behind me is the Mule Abdullah Stadium, and this is the calm after the storm, or some will say after the perfect storm. Because yesterday, the Teranga Lions of Senegal, against all odds, in the ultimate smash and grab, won the AFCON 2025 against the host, the Atlas Lions of Morocco. It was a very, very tense match. It was a match that evoked quite a number of reactions. The Moroccans, just by my side, still feeling the bite as I speak. But let's talk about the controversial moment, because this will go down to the most controversial final of the Africa Cup of Nations in its history. And kudos to Papi Gay for actually hitting that one and sending the Senegalese into Cloud9. But let's go into the controversial moment, and let's start it off with the very, very controversial look at Edward Mendy's towel incident. Who would have ever thought that a towel that goalkeepers use should become a touching point? That was the assistant goalkeeper of Senegal there, actually trying to protect Edward Mendy's towel at all costs. And the Moroccans, bordering on poor sportsmanship and also superstition, felt something was inside that particular towel. We saw this happen to Stanley Wabali in the game between Nigeria and Morocco. You can just see all the incidences that were happening as the game was going on live. People trying to get that particular towel. And I must tell you, towels are legal in the game, and the ref and goalkeepers are permitted to use the towel. This became an issue time and time again all through the game. Rather unfortunate. Another major talking point was the disallowed goal by the Teranga Lions of Senegal. Some saying this particular push on Achraf Hakimi wasn't enough to probably have the goal chalked off, because they felt it was actually a legal goal and should have stood. But the referee on the day, the DR Congo referee, decided that no, that wasn't good enough, and he called it off, and that began what was the breaking of the Pandora's box, literally, because after that, time and time again, controversial issues began to creep up. Now, let's also look at one key factor that threatened to break this particular game, or probably turn it on its head. This particular issue regarding Diop. Of course, there was talks that Diop had pulled down the talisman himself, Brahim Diaz. You look at this time and time again, and people have seen this and said, this was a very soft penalty, and this shouldn't, in my own opinion, shouldn't have been given as a penalty. But on the day, the DR Congo referee decided that this was going to be a penalty in the dying embers of the game. It was literally the last kick of regulation time for the Atlas Lions of Morocco. Looking at that closely, when that actually happened, we move on to another controversial issue. Pape Theo, the coach of the Teranga Lions of Senegal, didn't want to have any of that, and he said to the players, walk off the pitch, and we will not be participating in this game anymore. Very, very unorthodox, very, very unlikely, but that was how things actually played out as the players decided to walk off the pitch as the entire world was watching. Unlikely scenes, and CAF certainly will be getting a lot of stick for this. The Moroccans will get a lot of stick for this. At some point, they had to appeal to Sadio Mane, who later on was being persuaded to tell the players to come back to the pitch and finish this particular game. But this should not be. Scenes live from almost like a movie being played out there. Controversial moments after controversial moments. Another one that probably tops it off. After this particular one, Brahim Diaz was given an opportunity for 12 years to bury the ball, and he decided to go for the theatrics. He decided to go for the spectacular, and rather than just keeping it simple. Now, I must note, probably he was trying to relive past memories in 1976 when Morocco won their only AFCON. It was a penalty that they used to win that particular AFCON. Maybe he was thinking, let me roll back the hands, and he was just left red-faced as that didn't go in, with Papi Gueye scoring the all-important goal and Senegal being crowned champions of the AFCON for 2025. But I must tell you, it was controversy after controversy, controversy after controversy. The desperation to host and win probably overrode common sense, overrode sportsmanship, and overrode the ability to host a great tournament.
I'm so happy, Aaron, that the Teranga Lions rode so much that the Atlas Lions had to go and hide in the mountains of Ephraim in Morocco. What a game. Kudos to the Senegalese. See, people might say it was not a good thing for them to have walked out. I 100% support their walking out because, like I said, it's madness. You used to cure madness. CAF did not see all the theatrics that Morocco did. Aaron, did you also tell us how the Moroccans deliberately bought all the tickets so that people would not be able to get support? They did it to Nigeria. Now, they did it to Senegal again, just to be able to frustrate people. Are they the first hosts that will win? And North Africans always behave like this. If you remember in the early 2000s when Tunisia did win, that was the exact way they behaved. A lot of these theatrics, this win at all cost mentality, frustrating people. And I think CAF, anyway, Morocco has good facilities. They were great hosts. But CAF should look into the future as regards to Morocco host tournaments like this. What rubbish. What arrant nonsense. What such a despicable host. And all the soft penalties and the bad refereeing. First it was a Ghanaian referee, now it's this Congolese referee.
All right, very quickly, congratulations to Senegal. I'm sure a number of people would agree that justice was served in a very poetic manner, in such a way that it couldn't have been scripted, or it looked like it could have been scripted, if that were the case. But I think just to add to one thing is an investigation of the coach. The coach during the Nigeria-Morocco match, and then the coach during the final between Morocco and Senegal. Because at the end of the day, if we're looking at complicity, some of the actions taken by the coaches in these two matches can be brought up to question. So that's another area that CAF should look into.
Anyway, let's say congratulations to the government and the people of Morocco for having put up a very good event, hosting other countries from Africa. Despite the drama, the controversies, and all the theatrics, I think this was a very successful AFCON, and also kudos also to CAF, the Confederation of African Football, despite all the controversies with scheduling and all of that. And also to our Super Eagles, who came home with the bronze medal, the 9th time that they will be winning the bronze medal. We wanted gold, but well, it looks like this time around, bronze is good enough. As they say in Nigeria, at all, naim bad. At least, you know, they came home with something. Now, Ibrahim Gusso, the NFF president, has reassured Eric Chell that NFF is very pleased with his performance and the performance of the team. And so there's no issue about Eric Chell being removed from his position. Finally, congratulations to Senegal for having won. Morocco wanted the gold so desperately, but in football, as in life, you win some, you lose some. And after all, the awards medal, Morocco still got fair play, best goalkeeper. They even also got best goalkeeper. So everybody had something to take home. And Mohamed Salah has also particularly praised the Moroccans for providing good food, good accommodation. I think that commendation is in order. Thank you very much, Aaron. And when are you coming back home? People have cited Ndidi, Osimhen, and Awazie in Lagos. Please, we expect you to come back home safely too. Thank you very much. We take a short break now. And when we return, Vimbai Mutihiri Ekpeyong will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in the family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that we think the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reducing that number, we've come here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
I want to be a food scientist, and Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
I will be there by your side every moment, day and night. I'll be there with you all the way, all the way. All the way, all the way.
Care changes everything with Avon. Avon HMO, empowering you to live healthier, fuller lives.
Hello everyone, I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, the MD of Fidelity Bank.
FNTCC was conceptualized in 2022, and the whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters lead with the global community are able to showcase their products. What we do in the banking industry is to always try to meet the needs of our customers, and we could see that the exporters were struggling with, they didn't have a global stage on which to showcase their goods. We did so much initially in terms of capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging and all of that. So the next step naturally is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will come.
Yes, they will, don't worry about it. Build it and they will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rhoda Sodiri, Rolake Akinkube Filani, and Anizio Sakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. Watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. Because the decisions made here don't stay here. They travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News in Davos 2026. We're live, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first. On the world's standout global news channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with stories trending around the world is Vimbai Muchihiri Ekwenyong. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Welcome back to our 40-year-old Ayo. We saw you as a 39-year-old. Now we're seeing you as a milestone. Life begins at 40. Rufai Fire, how are you? Has anybody else noticed how Dr. Abati is wearing ashwoke bow ties now?
Yes, I know where it came
It's not
from.
the first time.
Yes.
I saw it this morning. I had to comment that very, very nice.
I know where it came from.
Very nice. No,
I don't like wearing my own, so I will not wear.
Anyway, we're going to give him his moments. So many stories trending around the world today. I mean, gosh, social media was blowing up over the weekend. But let's begin with a story that really got people talking. We begin with the New York Times that published an investigation claiming that the United States used intelligence from a screwdriver trader and small NGO operator in Onitsha, Anambra State, to carry out the Christmas Day airstrikes in Sokoto. The article, titled "The Screwdriver Salesman Behind Trump's Strikes in Nigeria," details how Emeka Umeagbalasi says he has documented 125,000 Christian deaths in Nigeria since 2009, but he also told the New York Times, allegedly, that he often does not verify his data. He acknowledged that his research was mainly based on, and I quote, secondary sources, including Christian interest groups, Nigerian news reports, and Google searches. The New York Times further claims, and I quote, that Mr. Umeagbalasi is the unlikely source of research, and this is a direct quote, research that U.S. Republican lawmakers have used to promote the idea that Christians are being singled out for slaughter in Africa's most populous nation. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, Representative Riley Moore of Virginia, Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey have all cited his work. He said he has degrees in security studies and peace and conflict resolution from the National Open University of Nigeria and described himself as a very powerful and knowledgeable investigator, comparing himself with the veteran CNN journalist Christian Amanpour. All of this is taken from the article, not my opinion. Let's take a look at some reactions. Senator Shehu Sani wrote on Twitter, "It's unfortunate and tragic to read the New York Times report that the claim of Christian genocide was sourced from one Emeka, an Onitsha-based screwdriver trader and operator of a small NGO who falsely claimed to have documented 125,000 Christian deaths using Google searches. How such an unverified claim could tense up the US lawmakers, president, and the intelligence community that led to an airstrike is one of the most foolish and comical historical events in our lifetime. This is shameful." Well, Sir Inyang also tweeted, and he writes, "Oh, But the media has been reporting community mass killings, killings in churches, bandits activities, terrorist activities, herdsmen activities, kidnappings, etc. I think Nigerians mainly want the killings and terrorism to stop, period. So, of course, those are some of the thoughts. Of course, amid many wide-ranging thoughts, some people going as far as saying, see, this is how the $9 million is working. There are now think pieces coming up here and there. But let me start with you, Rufai. A lot of conversation around this. Because the man is a salesman of screwdrivers and other appliances or other, tools in Onitsha, does that discredit his ability to do investigative research?
I mean, see, I think it's a hit job by New York Times, and it is sad that media is doing this in the world. And for New York Times to say that it was solely this man's opinion that made the call for Christian genocide rife in the country is falsehood. They say people quoted him, people like Ted Cruz and the likes quoted him and all of that. Yes, they might have quoted him, but to say it's solely his report that tipped the balance is false. So let me give you empirical facts. Bishop Winifred Aniegbe, Catholic Bishop of the Makati Diocese, on the 12th of March 2025, testified before the House of Foreign Subcommittee on Africa on religious persecution of Nigerians, describing attacks on Christians and displacement and church destruction, all right, and an Islamic agenda to control land. In November 2025, they returned to testify at another House subcommittee on that matter. Reverend Remigus Ihula, Catholic Bishop of Makurdi, March 12, 2025, joined Bishop Aniegbe in the testimony before the House. Mushpa Ape, survivor of the June 2025 Yewata attack, also virtually testified from Benue, testified between the House Foreign Subcommittee on Africa, which she emotionally recounted watching her 5 children slaughtered.
Yes. Several people have
So there have been several accounts. So for New York Times to hitch it on this story and say the screwdriver salesman was the one that wrote this, is sort of like a hit job to me. And it even makes mockery of the American intelligence system. You get, if they say it's based on this. But I disagree with you, New York Times, as regards this case. And I've given empirical facts. And if there's more, yes, there's another guy called, I think, Francis Tor. He too has been a regular person that testified. In fact, he's worked with many US lawmakers, In fact, he used to hold a position in Benue State. There've been many, and I can cite many other sources.
And just quickly, of course, when we talk about the $9 million, we know it's $4.5 million deal that has been done for a 6-month period. People are touting it as $9 million because it has that extra 6-month potential. Yes, but that's the deal that people are referring to when they see articles such as this. Dr. Abati, your take on this?
Okay, no, with regard to the contract with DCI Group to prove that there's no Christian genocide in Nigeria. Yes, people said, well, maybe those lobbies are already working. That's why you are seeing this kind of story in the New York Times. However, I think for Mr. Ume Agbalasi, I think that's the name, to claim that, it was what you found on Google and also on social media. You see the damage that their social media will cause. Is what the Americans acted upon. I think that in its first place is presumptuous because the American intelligence system, they don't have only one source. There are multiple sources, and those sources will be evaluated, and then there will be investigation. So to say it's one screwdriver salesman who is now screwing down Nigeria, I think Nigeria should not allow itself to be screwed down in that manner. Now, against what has been reported by the New York Times, before now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria, Yusuf Tuga, made it very clear that, look, it was the Nigerian government that provided intelligence to the American government, and that it was a collaborative effort, a point that was, again, backed up by the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. So how on earth did all that get reduced to the fact that it's one screwdriver man screwing things up and down that is responsible for the action? The other danger here is that it could cause problems between the North and the South.
That's it.
Because now you say, let's put it where it is. Emeka Umeagbase, an Igbo man in Onitsha.
That's intentional.
So he's the one who has invited the United States to come and bomb people in Sokoto. That in itself is divisive. It's not the kind of narrative that should be promoted because of the implications. My third point is that the National Security Advisor, the DSS, the DMI, or the various agencies, whichever can move first, should invite that screwdriver man in Onitsha for questioning. So if he's so knowledgeable, he says he has a certificate in security studies, okay, maybe he knows other things that he can use to assist the Nigerian government. Because if indeed he's the one who communicated, that's an act of espionage against his own country, which could be interpreted as treasonable felony. If he has information, the same Nigerian government that has been saying, to make Nigeria secure is a collaborative effort and that citizens have a role to play, his first port of call should be the Nigerian government to say, this is what I know. So these are dimensions to it. But, in this age of, vain publicity, anybody can just go and grant interview to foreign journalists, parachute journalists, and say, I was the one that brought him. In fact, they should seize that his laptop and investigate what is inside.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a report by Ruth McLean and with support from Taiwo Aina. Please, very, very briefly.
Can I just say, Dr. Abati, I think we're putting too much, a lot of emphasis on the man. How about the publication that actually took his story and gave it credence?
That flew a journalist to the South.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the main, because anyone can make a claim. But the role of a journalist, so the role of a media house, is to investigate that claim and ensure that it's verifiable. And so for them to take that story from this, young man, it means that they've done their own background check, or they're just amplifying a story that has far-reaching consequences without doing due diligence. And unfortunately, that speaks very badly.
Well, let's hope this is not another Janet Cook story. What? You know the story of Janet Cook.
Yes.
So are you saying, are we dealing with a Janet Cook situation?
Yes.
Let's
That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I don't want
to
to throw down New York
deeper
Times
into it, but
on our
there are questions, more questions than answered, provided by that report from the New York Times. I'm sure we haven't heard the last from this. Now let's move on to issues around security. After more than 2 months in captivity, the wife and daughter of the slain Anglican cleric, Venerable Edwin Achi, have regained freedom. Sarah Achi and her daughter are currently receiving medical care at the 44 Army Reference Hospital in Kaduna. Kaduna State Governor Oseni has visited the family and assured them of sustained psychosocial and welfare support, including decent accommodation from the state government, as he expressed his condolences over the death of Venerable Achi, who died while in the custody of the abductors. Venerable Edwin Achi, his wife Sarah, and their daughter were abducted on October 28, 2025 from their residence in Nisi Village, Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The wife and daughter were released after spending 78 days in captivity, but the cleric did not survive the ordeal. Reiterating his administration's security posture, the governor stressed that the Kaduna peace model does not involve negotiating with bandits and maintained that criminal elements would continue to be confronted. Of course, he did so during the hospital visit. I'm going to tie this together with our next story, which took place in Kano State. We go straight to Kano State because of time, where 3 suspects, including a nephew to the family, have been arrested for the brutal murder of 35-year-old mother Fatima Abubakar and her 6 children at Doraye Charanchi quarters in Kano Metropolis, Kano State. The attack occurred barely 2 months after unidentified assailants invaded a residence in the Tudunyola area of the Kano Metropolis in November last year. They killed 2 housewives. So those arrested include Umar Awalu, 23, of Sabuwar Gandu, Isyaku Yakubu, popularly known as Chebe, 40, of Sagagi, and Yakubu Abdulaziz, also known as Wawo, 21, of Sabongida Sharada. Police investigations revealed that the alleged mastermind of the killings is Umar, and he's a relative of the deceased, and he confessed to committing the crimes. He also reportedly admitted to being involved in other crimes in other parts of Kano State. Now, this heinous crime has led to the resurfacing of a video documenting the occasion, which was reported here on What's Trending last year as well, when the Kano State government deployed its first batch of 380 anti-phone snatching marshals to fight phone theft in the state. So remember that time Governor Abba Yusuf had approved the initiative, sending recruits into training at the Kano State Corporate Security Institute for skills like identification and community policing. And people are saying, let's take a look at the tweets. The tweets are saying, if you have to create a whole force just to stop people from snatching phones, that says a lot about poverty in your region. Perhaps the money you want to spend on those should be used to open factories. So to come to you, Ayo, you have this abduction of Venerable Edwin Achi and his family. We thank God for the safe return of his widow and daughter. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. May his soul rest in peace. Kano, heinous murder of an entire family. But we're promoting anti-theft, anti-phone theft marshals. Your take on this?
Thank you so much. I'll keep it brief because of my voice. Yes. But first of all, I want to say kudos to the federal government in collaboration with the Kaduna State governor. The governor has said the right things, made the right gestures by condoling with the widow, and I hope that furthermore the Nigerian state can look after their mental health and also look after their full rehabilitation following what must have been a horrendous experience in the kidnappers' den. They were in for over a month, I believe, and they also had, the unfortunate experience of seeing their, their father, their husband die in that captivity. So this is great. But what's most important, as we often say, is prevention. We don't want to just say governors receiving captors, people who have been in captivity. We want to also see efforts to prevent these activities from happening, and the Tinubu administration has made some efforts or moves. Even the Minister of Defense, the security architecture have done significantly well to ensure that they're able to tackle kidnapping, banditry. Now, moving on to Kano State, and this is what we talk about, the importance and the role that subnationals play. Oftentimes when we talk about security, and very well so, because security is, on the exclusive list, it belongs to the federal government, but there's some key things that state governors can do. And part of it is what you've identified. Sometimes they major on the minor. Look at what's happened in Kano State, for instance. There are certain factors that can be investigated, can be looked into straight from the community-led engagement to prevent incidents like this. There must have been, trends. There must have been, the fact that his history, his criminal history, his mental health state. Those are some of the things that we need to look into. It's not a simple crime to kill, almost wipe out an entire family.
Your own family.
Yes, you have to check the mental state of such a man. And I'm hoping they can do that to see what they can do in the future to prevent that, rather than investing state funds in police theft, phone theft. I'll see what the progress of that is, by the way. I'll check that out in terms of to what extent that has helped security situation in Kano State. But I look forward to the investigation of that and to see how that can be prevented in the state.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully they're not focusing too much on phones and neglecting human life in the process. Let's turn to politics now, to Rivers State, as Governor Siminalayi Fubara, as has been widely reported on the program today already, described the impeachment notice issued to him by the Rivers State House of Assembly as a love letter. Now, you would recall the Assembly recently issued an impeachment notice to the governor and his deputy, Ngozi Odu, following alleged gross misconduct by the administration. Now, despite an interim order by the River State High Court stopping the process, the Assembly on Friday said the state chief judge has received and acknowledged the impeachment notice. And this is what he had to say addressing his supporters during the grand finale of the week-long 2026 NPA Port Harcourt International Polo Tournament. Let's take a look.
It's really unfortunate that I have to say this. Coincidentally, each time you're having your tournament, there's always one problem. In the year 2024, you were having the tournament, you came to me and I made some promises. Almighty God, that January was here. 2025, in fact, you already know the drama we're facing. You didn't even bother to come near me, so I understand. This 2026, I thought you would have been the finance. They just landed me a love letter. So you understand? But that notwithstanding, we must move on.
You heard him. They just landed me a love letter. Now, this development comes as residents in Port Harcourt have also taken to social media to decry the unclean state of the city. If we can pull up those videos of how some of the streets are looking, there's videos of unclean streets, and they're urging the governor to prioritize governance, even as the political turmoil persists. I wish we had those videos that you could see some of the streets that have been documented, just looking deplorable, trash everywhere. But Rufai, I come to you. You had a guest earlier who is a lawyer, seems to come from River State as well. There was debate about, did he say he received a love letter or whatever? Anyway, he said they landed him a love letter.
Landed him a love letter doesn't mean I've received the service. So because his aide, when his aide came here and said he has not received the service, he did not say, I have received the service. They are two different things. But hey, apart from receiving the service or not, you see, my bone of contention has always been, we know where this fight is coming from. So for those that now, and I'm going to argue this way, for those that justified President Tinubu's state of emergency as a way of solving the problem, it's obvious that the state of emergency was useless as we speak today. Because if the impeachment threats and the impeachment is still going ahead after the state of emergency that we thought was going to settle both factions, it was useless. For those on the government side that argue in favor of the state of emergency that President Tinubu used it to save Fubara, your argument is logically wrong today. Because despite the state of emergency, they are still going ahead with an impeachment against Fubara. And for me, like you said, the people are complaining that we don't see a lot of governance. The fight between Wike and Fubara, and two of them the same way. I mean, it's their fights. Don't die in their war. It's never about the people. If they were fighting about how they would clean the streets, the betterment of people in the state, I'll say that's a justified fight. But it's for their own control of resources and their own self-interest. I just pity the Rivers people in all of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, in the interest of time, we're going to move on straight to our milestone today as we celebrate the life and times of the Imam of Ingar village in Barkin Ladi local government area of Plateau State, who famously shielded 262 Christians during a violent communal attack. He has died at the age of 90. Of course, that was not the image of the Imam. The Imam of Ingar village in Barkin Ladi local government area of Plateau State, who famously shielded 262 Christians during a violent communal attack, has died at the age of 90. Saleh Abubakar, son of the deceased, confirmed the death to Arise News in Jos, and he said the cleric passed away on Thursday night at Plateau Specialist Hospital. He's survived by 19 children, made up of 12 boys and 7 girls. In June 2018, during faith-based clashes that swept through 10 villages in Barkin Ladi local government area, the late Imam hid 262 Christians in a mosque and his private home until the violence subsided, preventing them from being killed. His actions earned him both local and international recognition across the globe. And we condole with his family and his loved ones. But of course, we know that at the age of 90, it's a celebration of life. And what a legacy to have left behind. 262 people, and of course, families.
You see, this explodes the idea that, look, Nigerian Muslims are bad, that, Muslims are always attacking Christians. Here is the example of a man who in 2018 rescued and protected 262 Christians who were being attacked in 10 communities in Barkin Ladi local government area. Now, the issue, theoretically, has been discussed by Mahmoud Mamdani in his book, Bad Muslim, Good Muslim. Mahmoud Mamdani is the father of the present New York City mayor, Zora Mamdani. And his argument is that those you call the good Muslim, these are supposed to be secular, westernized Muslims as opposed to, bad Muslims who are, the fanatical, extremist Muslims. And that polarization does not exist. That people do that to play politics. People are human beings, first and foremost. They can either be kind or not kind, good or bad. But that people play politics with religion. And I hope in a sense, if I can rely on Mamdani's argument, that may be part of the situation, part of the problem we have in Nigeria.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's all we've got.
Departed, rest in peace.
Absolutely. May his legacy live on and spread.
I think his work.
Yes, he is. He deserves it.
Well, you are clapping for his death?
For his life and time.
Oh.
And his legacy.
Represented.
Oh,
yes.
His
legacy.
Great. That's all we've got. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Limba. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show. Rotu Sudiri and Rolake Akekugbe Filani are up next live from Davos on the Global Business Report. This is still the Arise News Channel.